Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. I watched the Lindsey Graham funeral at the National Cathedral, and it's really, really sad, and it's hard to believe Lindsey Graham is gone. And I watched Sean Hannity do something I've never seen someone do at a funeral before when they eulogize someone. He went up and talked about himself. I tell you, Sean Hannity, let me just play this clip, then we'll get into it. Sean Hannity is so far gone in the world of narcissistic personality disorders that he's not curable. He's just beyond any help.
Lindsey does hold a couple of records that I don't think will ever be broken on the Fox News channel. And number one was how freely he would use certain words on my show in particular.
On my show, on the Fox News channel, weeknights at 9. I mean, my goodness.
Now, in this beautiful cathedral, I will not repeat them, but his first record was on how many different occasions those words would come flying out of his mouth. That was record one. Record number two was how many times could he say it in a single appearance. I did show a montage on my show about this. And,
my show,
you know,
me.
I will selfishly admit that when a U.S. Senator utters certain words on national TV, it is really, Mr. President, you'll appreciate this, it is great for ratings. And Senator Graham was great for ratings because people listened to him. He drew you in. He had that passion to draw you in. So for that, I was very grateful. Lindsey also is well known on my TV show.
My TV show, oh my goodness. We all know you're on TV, Hannity, okay? Oh my goodness.
He was a shameless self-promoter. I don't think any one person ever said lindseygraham.com more than Lindsey Graham. And then he'd call me hours later and tell me how much money he raised on my show that night.
My show, oh my goodness.
And over, if he were here today, I'm sure he would not miss a chance to say darlinegraham.com.
Okay. I mean, it was a little bizarre watching Hannity today, I must say. But I do want to say this about Lindsey Graham and the funeral. That was, Lindsey Graham, it's a strange thing when you get older. People die, and, when I was young, if someone Lindsey Graham's age died, I would say, oh, they lived long enough, right? But as you get older, 75 isn't as old as it used to be. And Lindsey Graham, if you think about it, and I kind of keep these things to, you hear me say this a lot because I think this is a fair way to do it. When it comes to senators who have served in the Senate in my lifetime, Lindsey Graham is probably one of the most prominent. And it's not just... there's just not that many guys that are in the Senate that make a mark like him. The other, I mean, if you think about it, who are the big senators of our lifetime that made marks, right? Lindsey Graham, Ted Kennedy, mostly negative ones for Ted Kennedy. And that's really about it. I mean, there's some that are infamous, that did some things that, aren't that great. But he's one of the most significant senators. And what made Lindsey Graham so special compared to these other senators is that even though he was a Republican, he's kind of was like a bipartisan guy in that everybody likes Lindsey Graham, right? And I know there's some nasty liberals who say terrible things about him. But for the most part, everybody loved Lindsey Graham, and he had an ability that so few people have or had. He had an ability, and I'm talking about him like he's still here because it's hard to believe Lindsey Graham's gone, right? He had an ability that no matter who he was in the room with or who his audience was, they would listen to him and they respected him. And there's not too many people in Washington who can do that because things are so partisan. And I'll tell you another thing that I noticed about Lindsey Graham today, I was thinking about with Lindsey Graham, although he adopted his sister as his own, and he did that so that she would qualify for his benefits, but he wasn't married and didn't have any kids. And when you think of, now this is, a lot of people may disagree with this, but it was very surprising to people that Lindsey Graham wasn't worth tens of millions of dollars. When we found out what his net worth was after he died, he wasn't poor. His net worth was like $2.5 million. So, he was a millionaire, but he barely. And these other senators, like Schumer, who's worth $80 million, Nancy Pelosi in the House is worth $250 million, And I was thinking about this today during the Lindsey Graham funeral, that maybe the reason that he wasn't corrupted, right? It's not that, you don't think they ever reached out to Lindsey Graham and tried to corrupt him. Of course they did, because that's what they do. But I was thinking maybe the reason that they never got to Lindsey Graham, somebody just told me he was worth $1.4 million. Did that include the house? I mean, still a millionaire on paper, but poor by the standards of senators. And I was thinking this, that he wasn't corrupted. And that they, over the years, they tried to corrupt him, is because he wasn't married and didn't have kids. Because these people, they get married, they have a wife, they have kids, and then all of a sudden, when they open up the books and try to corrupt these members of Congress in both houses, they do it because they want to take care of their family. And if you're a single guy, you don't really need that much to get by. Not that 1.4 million net worth is poor. Don't misunderstand me. But when you are a single man without kids, you just don't open yourself up necessarily to be as corrupted as somebody that's got 4 or 5 kids and a wife that wants to have all the expensive stuff and the houses and the vacations. And it's kind of like priests. Priests aren't married, and people talk about, well, the church didn't want the families living off the church. Maybe, I don't know, but I think there's something to be said that people who dedicate their life to public service, whether it's in the government like Lindsey Graham, or to Christianity as a priest or a minister, maybe there's something to be said that people that dedicate their life to public service, that there's major benefits to not having a family, to be totally dedicated to that, because all these other senators are just crooks, aren't they? They're just crooks. Look at what Thune is doing. There's no one can tell me that Thune is not a crook. He's holding up this Save America Act that everybody wants passed. He's corrupt, like Schumer. And one day we'll find out details of it. But he'll definitely be missed. However, Lindsey's sister, Darline, who took over to finish out the term, she's running, and she'll win. And I know she's nice. I'm not saying she's not nice or anything. But one thing I've noticed about Darline Graham is that she is a commanding force. Like, when she's in the room, people do what she wants them to do. And while she's a freshman senator, and she's too new, even if she's elected, and she will be for that term, she's too new to become the majority leader, But she worked on Lindsey's campaign. She probably knows most of the people on his staff, and she's pretty connected, and she's pretty connected in the politics of the state too. She's going to be a very powerful senator. She'll probably be one of the most powerful freshman senators out there, because people are going to go along with what she wants to do because they like Lindsey, and she's a commanding presence and all of that, and she's a very nice lady. And it's too soon to label her as MAGA necessarily. However, she keeps going to the president. When she was thinking about, before she announced she was running for the seat she got appointed to, she reached out to the White House and talked to the president about it. And she said today and yesterday that she wants the Save America Act passed. In fact, Darline Graham said She says she refuses to let senators take a 37-day vacation on the taxpayers' dime unless the Save America Act is passed. You know, so what we're hearing from the new Senator Graham, Darline Graham, Lindsey's sister, is exactly what we want to hear, and she's a definite commanding presence. There's no getting around it. And you know, the Save America Act, it's not just the most important legislation that President Trump will ever pass. Out of all of the legislation that I've followed in the news over the years, to me it seems like the Save America Act is the most popular legislation to go through the Congress since the Patriot Act. Now, I know a lot of people may not think the Patriot Act's that popular. It's not popular now, but it was popular after 9/11 when people were scared. But I don't think I've ever seen legislation, that was a special circumstance. I don't think I've ever seen legislation that was anywhere near as popular as the Save America Act. And one of the amazing things about it is how bipartisan it is. This is the CNN poll on voter ID.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it.
Okay, now this is astounding. Now, 85% of white supporting photo ID to vote isn't surprising. But 82% of Latinos and 76% of blacks supporting it, boy, this tells you there has been such a change in this country. You know, the voter ID for voting without the citizenship requirement was debated when George W. Bush and Obama were president. It came up from time to time, did some shows with it. And the left, I'm not talking about in Washington, I'm talking about liberals in general, were very much opposed to it, in particular blacks. You know, African Americans went with that ridiculous line that blacks, remember they used to say black people don't have photo ID? It's such a stupid thing, you know, it's the 21st century. But the numbers with black support for photo ID actually were about the opposite of that. It was about 76% of blacks when W and Obama were president. About 76% of blacks were opposed to photo ID. And now 76% of blacks are in favor of it. Who would have thought? That's just astounding. And yeah, I know. Isn't it something? And it shows you how things have changed. And what's happened is the auto pen administration of Joe Biden really has brought the country together against the Democrats because of this flood of illegals during this invasion and colonization of the country. Let me rewind this, and then I'll play the rest of it. This is the CNN poll on photo ID to vote.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country.
No.
A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote. So
yeah, it's really amazing. So something that is more popular than any other legislation I've ever seen in the news. I mean, I've never seen truly bipartisan legislation before this. Really, I haven't. And another thing that's amazing is not just 76% of blacks, a complete reversal from a few years ago, but 82% of Hispanics, because in large part we want photo ID required to vote because so many illegal Hispanics from Latin America have made their way into the country and are registered to vote, as we've been seeing the numbers come out of New Jersey and California and elsewhere in the last week. So why is Thune not passing it? You know why? Because Thune is a corrupt public official. That's why. Someone in the chat said Reagan, a Republican, gave illegals amnesty. He absolutely did, and he was wrong. You know, I mean, we're not responsible for Ronald. Ronald Reagan was not MAGA. He made a mistake. I was a kid when Reagan was president. I remember it clearly. I don't remember him doing the amnesty when I was a kid, but it was a mistake. It was very stupid. And but he wasn't MAGA. And things have changed. While it was a problem then, it was nowhere near the problem that it became years later. And we're in a whole different situation now because there's so many tens of millions of illegals that are in the country. And, with the Save America Act will pass. It's just a question of when. We're going to win the midterms. So if John Thune doesn't pass it and continues to obstruct, it'll get passed in January with the new Congress. That is a Republican majority, larger than we have now. And Thune's going to find out right quick that he's no longer the majority leader because of this. But he may not care. Whoever is backing Thune may be taking care of him so well that he just doesn't care, right? And he may be completely happy with not being the majority leader because he's done so well during this period. Now, if you'd like to call in, you're certainly welcome to. The number is it's the same number that I use in the mornings. It's toll free, 888-465-2631. It's a toll free call no matter where you are listening, and it's pinned in the live chat. Those of you that are new to the program, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk, and there's no doubt about it. And you can catch the program every weekday morning, well, actually every morning 7 days a week, right here on my YouTube channel. But if you want to catch the podcast is available wherever you get podcasts. Just search for The Brian Craig Show. If you want to catch the show live in video form, where you hear and see all the audio and video I play, and where you can call in live and all of that, on the phones, that's on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search for The Brian Craig Show. But it was really sad to see Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, not only was he a likable guy, he's the kind of guy, you just think's always going to be there. I thought President Trump's little eulogy that he gave of Lindsey Graham was real good. I thought it was funny. He had mentioned during the first campaign when he gave out Lindsey Graham's cell phone number on television. Remember that? And his phone blew up. And if you remember what Lindsey did? President Trump gave out Lindsey Graham's phone number live on television. And since everybody had his number, it was crazy. Lindsey Graham had a very good sense of humor. He made a television commercial, and he took his cell phone and put it in he put it in a blender and destroyed his cell phone because it was no good anymore. It was pretty funny. I was glad the president brought that up today. When you go to funerals are always sad, but when people tell these stories and of things that the person did or was involved in, the president was talking about some of the golf games and everything else. And you hear a little laughter. That's a good thing when people have good stories to tell about someone. But Lindsey Graham will, without question, very much be missed, and we are going to get the Save America Act passed. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Dude, what a oh, did you see Pence was at the funeral? I didn't see him during it. I saw him before. He did an interview with Newsmax. But one thing I did not see, and if any of them were there, they were way in the back. I didn't see any of the other presidents there. Did you? I only saw President Trump. Were any of the other living presidents there? I didn't see any of them. Why do you think that is? If they were there, they would have been sitting up front with President Trump, wouldn't they? No Obama, no Bush. Where were they? No Biden? I thought Biden and Lindsey Graham were such great friends. So, and I didn't see Jill there or Michelle. So I don't know why the other presidents didn't go, other than they hate Trump, and their Trump derangement syndrome prevented them from going there because they would all be second-rate bananas next to the greatest president ever, Donald Trump. But I was really disappointed in these other presidents that they didn't go, right? Now, I got some other things I do want to cover. If you're on hold, hang in there, because a lot has been happening. David Hogg, I'm no fan of David Hogg, I'll tell you that. But and David Hogg is really pissed off at the Democrats because really they pushed him out. And, this guy, I'm glad they pushed him out because he's a real dangerous guy because he's angry, and his attitude and anger is what got him pushed out of his Democrat position. Whatever he's doing at the DNC now, if anything, is symbolic because they want to use him from time to time. But he went on MS Now today and gave us some information about the current state of the Democrat Party.
David, you were a part of the DNC until June of last year when committee members voted to hold new elections for your post and a fellow vice chair. And this came after you told the New York Times that you plan to spend millions to bring generational change to the party. Knowing what you know now about the committee, what you've seen from Ken Martin, are you surprised at all by these reports?
No, unfortunately, I am disappointed to see them, but I'm far from surprised. I saw the writing on the wall early on. I remember talking about some of the issues that were going on that helped to decide the election. Let's remember here, one of the main things that Chair Ken Martin ran on releasing was an autopsy report that would bring real accountability to the DNC, and that was totally fumbled, where there was no mention of Gaza, there was no mention of inflation, there was no mention of the president's age, or any actual issues that decided the election, and they couldn't even be bothered to include a conclusion in that. Then you add on top of that it's now been 18 months, and they had to put the building up as collateral, and they're $2 million in debt. And then you juxtapose that with the progressive movement and what's going on out there. It's incredibly sad to see the DNC and the committee at this point, and it could not be more clear that he's unfit to lead. We need somebody who can actually raise money and also not throw his phone at staff.
Okay. So the reason I share that, I have no interest in David Hogg. I mean, he's just terrible. But he dropped a couple of things there that now we've known that the Democrat Party is morally bankrupt. There's no doubt about that. They're a morally bankrupt party. But they're also financially bankrupt. They're $2 million in debt, and they took a mortgage out on their building because they were so desperate for money and short of funds. So what does that tell you? It tells you that people aren't donating money to the Democrats, that they've lost the big donors. And the reason they've lost the big donors is because the big donors, they're not charitable givers. They donate to politicians and political parties so that when they're in power, they can do favors for them, whatever it may be, passing legislation, who knows what it is, all kinds of things. And what this tells me that the Democrats are millions of dollars in debt and that they took a mortgage out on their building just to survive. It tells me that the donor class, which are people that really follow the politics, they know, they're not donating because they don't see any scenario where the Democrats have any power or influence. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? And that's better than a poll. It's like a poll in itself that we're getting an indication as to where the Democrats stand. And the donors are saying they're going to lose, they're not going to be back in power, and giving them money is throwing it in the garbage can. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm James from Ohio.
All right, James in Ohio.
How you doing? I just wanted to talk about the legacy of Lindsey Graham, and
here we go.
And I'm getting mixed. I have an uncle that lives in South Carolina, and he tells me that they remember him as more of a geopolitical figure than somebody from and for South Carolina.
Really, what does that mean? Hold on a second. I don't understand what that means. Your uncle views him as a. Hold on a second. You said that your uncle views him not really as a senator, Lindsey Graham, but as a geopolitical figure. Explain that to me.
Correct. He was saying that he does more for Israel and lobbying for defense firms and more bombs and stuff like that than, what a local senator that really cares about the constituents.
A local senator. Then why has he been elected and reelected? And he was going to be reelected again in November. If he's such a traitor to South Carolina, why did they keep reelecting him?
Well, you just used the adjective that I did not use. I did not say he was a traitor. But what I was saying is that it does seem like, hey.
No, excuse me. You said that is your uncle a Democrat by chance?
No, he's a Republican.
He's a Republican, so he probably voted for Lindsey Graham. So if it's true what you said, that Lindsey Graham was doing more for Israel and for bomb-making companies in South Carolina, why did South Carolina continue to reelect him time and time again? He's been in office since 1994,
well,
so he's got 32 years.
That explains how weak his opposition was. He had a very weak opposition.
Really? Well, maybe he was just popular, and the people of South Carolina loved him, except for your uncle.
Well, we can say that too, but also, how do you feel about his war? Even Trump said there's not a war that he didn't like. So how do you perceive that? Do you think that as a senator you're supposed to have some type of humanity and care for the international community, or
your version of care for the international community is to support those who want to kill the Jews. So it sounds like you're the one who lacks humanity.
Okay, I haven't even used the word Jewish in this conversation.
When you said Israel, that's the Jewish state.
Exactly, it's a Jewish ethno state, and
whatever.
I just
whatever. You with the funny words, with the fancy words. Did you go to college?
Yes, I did.
What'd you major in? What'd you major in?
In business.
Really? And you learned to talk like that in a business class? What'd you do? What'd you take as electives? Women's studies courses? I mean, where did you learn these funny words that you're using?
I'm trying to have.
Really? Are you? Hold on a second. Are you a college graduate, or are you still in college?
Yeah, no, I've graduated.
Well, then explain this to me. Hold on a second. I'm confused. If you're a college graduate with a big old fancy business degree,
I'm trying to have a genuine.
We are having a genuine conversation. This is genuine and intellectual.
You're attacking.
No, I'm asking a question. This is what I'm curious about. If you're some big shot with a business degree from college, why are you not working at 4:25 in the afternoon on a Tuesday? Shouldn't you be in an office somewhere?
I'm off work right now.
What kind of businessman is off work with a big fancy business degree at 4:25 in the afternoon on a Tuesday? Give me a break.
Well, I don't work myself to death.
You don't work yourself to your death, but I would say you probably don't. What do you do for a living with your big fancy business degree?
I own a landscaping company, and it pulls in about over 6 figures a year.
That's great. That's great. So you have a 4-year so at 4:26 in the afternoon, your company doesn't have any lawns to mow?
I have a team of about 30 guys. They're all on the job sites.
And you don't. And what do you do? Sit at home and watch YouTube?
Okay, sir. I think I made a mistake calling. I was trying to have this conversation.
I think you made a mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake calling. You just are saying things that don't make sense to me.
Okay, what does my personal life have anything to do with?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Because no, you asked a question. It's a good question. I'm going to answer it. What I have found in my lifetime is that everyone's opinions on everything is based on their life experience and their personal life experience. That's people have opinions and come to conclusions based on all of that. So it's incredibly relevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
so what do you do in the wintertime? Being in the lawn business, what does one do in the wintertime in Ohio?
Well, I also run the plows all winter long.
What kind of plows?
So snow plows.
So people pay you to do that. So you're some big fancy business guy. You've got lawn equipment, you've got snow plows and everything else. But still, at 4:28 in the afternoon, you're watching videos on YouTube, and not working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to point out a few fallacies that you pointed out. You say that people they can only articulate how they feel about a politician or how they feel about their politics describes how they live their life.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we all come to conclusions on everything in life based on how we live our life.
Okay, well, sometimes there's people live with a dignity and a righteousness and humanity at the front of their morals.
See, the reason, your morals is you don't like Jews.
Okay, well, we could talk about Israel, and did you ask me, or did I say anything anti-Semitic?
Yes.
Did I say anything?
Yeah. You accused the late great Senator Lindsey Graham of putting Israel ahead of the people of South Carolina. That's how you began this conversation.
Yes, I was wanting to see what your thoughts were.
Well, you've heard my thoughts. Because your uncle doesn't like Lindsey Graham. Yes. One guy in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham has been elected over and over again since 1994. I'm sorry your uncle doesn't like him. I mean, does your uncle like peas? Does that mean peas are bad? Come on.
I mean, Bill Clinton was elected twice too. Did that make him a great president, or did that mean that his opposition?
No, it made him popular. It made him popular. He was a popular president. I didn't vote for Bill Clinton, but he was a popular president, like Lindsey Graham. I'm from Ohio originally. Okay, I live in Florida now. I lived in Florida most of my life. But I'm originally
what part of Ohio?
Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio is my hometown.
Oh wow,
it's my hometown.
Come on, buddy. I really would like you to represent.
I went to West Broad Street Elementary School in the 70s.
Oh, so you lived on the west side? Okay.
I mean, my parents did. I lived with my parents. I was a little kid. I was like in 4th grade.
Okay.
But one thing I know, but there's a big difference between Florida and Ohio. Other than Florida is better. I mean, Florida is the best state there is. I mean, I got the beach right down the street. I could be at the beach in 5 minutes after this. But and the weather's nice.
With that.
Yeah, Florida's better. But one big difference is that the reason you have these opinions on Israel that are based on these things, there really aren't any Jews in Ohio. So you don't.
That's actually false. Are you familiar with the Bexley area in Columbus?
I didn't. Well, that's it. There's a little sarcasm there. There aren't many in Florida. We have the second largest Jewish population in the world is in Florida. So we have a large Jewish population here that's spread and integrated. And in Columbus, Ohio, there aren't that many Jews in Columbus, Ohio. So the average person doesn't really encounter Jews, and the few that are there are like you just talked about, segregated. One thing about Ohio is Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati. These are incredibly racially segregated cities. They're not very integrated, especially Columbus, which has been taken over by Black Lives Matter and liberal lunatics. You're calling from a liberal town run by liberal idiots. They took down the statue of Christopher Columbus in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, give me a break.
I wouldn't say Ohio is a liberal state.
No, Columbus. Columbus is.
Yes. Columbus is a little bit more liberal than the general state of Ohio. But getting back to your point, I've met plenty of Jews. I grew up with a Jewish friend. I'm still friends with him.
And you had a friend who was a Jew. Wow, that's amazing. You had a friend who was a Jew in school. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know.
Does he know that you don't support Israel? Does your friend know that you don't support Israel?
He doesn't support Israel.
Yeah, because he's a liberal.
In the state.
Because he's a liberal, your friend.
Okay, well.
I'll tell you right now, he's a liberal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, do you think that being an avid Israeli supporter, or thinking that Israel, the state, has to be an ethno-state, is going to hurt the MAGA?
And what do you mean an ethno-state? What this term I've never heard before, an ethno-state.
Okay, when I say an ethno-state, it's based on your ethnicity, your Jewish identity.
Well, it is the Jewish state. Israel is the Jewish state.
Okay. Well, are you familiar with? I don't care his politics or anything like that, but there's a lot of settler expansion. Do you support the expansion of the settlers?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
you know why they do that? Do you know why they do that? Do you know why they do that? Do you know why they do that?
There's not a good reason.
Yeah, there is.
So,
You're just not
problem.
informed. You're just not informed. I'll educate you. It's because the Arabs, since Israel was established in 1948, the Muslims have been trying to kill all the Jews. So in the early days of Israel, in the 1960s, in 1967, in that era, in those wars, all of the Arab nations at once attacked Israel, all at the same time. And Israel pushed them back, and they've spread out so that there's a buffer. So when the Muslims invade, there's a buffer before they get to Israel proper.
Okay, so you're saying that after that war, Israel recouped a lot of land and grew and was a larger state.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if you notice, the Muslims are still trying to kill the Jews. That's what this Iran war is all about, is Mideast peace.
Okay, so I'm confused about the Iran war. I thought it was about
it's about several things. It's about Mideast peace, it's about nuclear weapons, and it's about Iran continually trying to assassinate the president and the Trump family. It's about a lot of things.
Do you think a Palestinian life is equal to a Jewish life?
I don't know what that means. I don't think a terrorist life is not equal.
I never said terrorist. I never said
terrorist. All lives of law-abiding people are equal.
Thank you. And so that's my problem, is that...
I mean, I just don't understand with this big business you have, with your big fancy business degree, how you could spend so much time on the phone in the middle of the workday, in the middle of the week. I just don't understand that. The business guys I know are working at the office and doing things.
Oh, well, I mean...
I don't know many people. I don't know many successful business owners that are doom scrolling YouTube at 4:35 in the afternoon in the middle of the week.
Oh, well, I mean, I follow your program.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It just seems like an odd thing for a businessman to be doing, is doom scrolling all day.
I don't understand where you get doom scrolling from. I have an alert when you go live that it...
Well, that's a good alert. Everyone should have the notification bell clicked with me. Hey, listen, I appreciate the call. Call me again sometime, but not today. Once a day, all right? You can call me again another time. All right. Oh, my goodness. You're on the air. Oh, hold on a second. My phones are ringing off the hook here. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Yes, Mike.
You know, that first caller seemed to me to be a seminar caller.
I don't know. I would consider him to be a cosplay caller. I appreciate the call, Mike. I wouldn't consider him a seminar caller. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Bradley Sexton from Harrisville, Missouri.
All right, Missouri. What's on your mind?
Well, one, I want to make my condolences still to Lindsey Graham, a good senator from South Carolina.
Absolutely.
Obviously, number one.
Absolutely.
And I'll say, he was a loyal guy. I'll give him this because he's been loyal to Trump and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And sure, and plus, sure, he was back in 2003, he was a Bush guy and all that stuff. Sure, I agree with Bush on everything, but he kind of adjusted himself to the party with the changes, in my opinion, with Trump over time. So I respect him for that.
Yes.
So, and then the plus, the whole Save America Act thing, I know he's been pushing that. And I know Trump's been asking for that.
Well, don't you support it? You don't support the Save America Act?
No, I do. I do. I support it.
Good, yeah.
So, what I mean by it is because, like on the Save America Act, the problem I always have with the Senate's view of it, like Thune, I feel like he, in my opinion, he's kind of been a little spineless, in my view, when it comes to the approach of it and trying to pass it. in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a little frustrating that, like even the past 3, 4, 5 weeks, we've been talking about it and trying to push this thing over. And personally, I think it's a good thing to pass it because you need voter ID. Because I got a driver's license, I have to show my photo ID to them
Exactly.
when I go vote.
Exactly.
And then because I got there's a primary we got coming up here in Missouri on August 4th. I'm pretty sure they're going to maybe show that again. So why not do it nationally across every 50 states? Mm-hmm. And I know people on the Democrat Party, they're going to say, oh, yeah, they're going to say, oh, voter suppression, which is bull, by the way, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that's just a shame that you got one party that does not care about that stuff. It's about election integrity. What's wrong having that? We're the only country on earth.
With Thune, I wouldn't say that he's spineless. I would say he's corrupt.
Yeah. I think he's a mixture of both.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, he's just corrupt. I mean, there's no other excuse for it. But I mean, the time's coming. I mean, how long can he continue it? Right?
Yeah, that's the depends. I think there's good senators in the Senate, like Mike Lee, example, who has been touting it and been very serious about it. And I think he, personally, in my opinion, I think should be that new majority leader. So, in my opinion, so
anybody but Thune. I mean, now if Thune does the right thing, I'll stop worrying about him for a few minutes. But the Save America Act should have been passed months ago.
Yeah, probably this early summer, probably spring, probably.
Whenever it was passed by the House and sent to the Senate, whatever date, it should have been passed that day, the next day. You know, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It'll be passed eventually. It's just a matter of time.
I hope so. We'll see if those other senators like Susan Collins. I hope she does because she's always been there when we need her. But we'll see. Except for the other gal.
Well, see, here's the thing with rhinos that people got to understand. Rhinos are Democrats. There's no doubt about it. But they serve a purpose. They still count as Republicans so far as the majority. Yeah. So when you have someone like Susan Collins in a state that's liberal on a lot of things, you know, and we can't get like a real Republican, it's better to have her than some Democrat, right, that gets counted with the Democrats.
Yeah. You understand,
yeah.
Good. So in my opinion about what Susan Collins is, which I understand why she's doing it, because she's in a state like Maine, is like
it's very liberal.
7.
You can't a real Republican can't get elected.
True.
And Maine
can't. That's just because
Minnesota, Alaska, these states, you can't get elected if you're a real Republican.
That's true. So because they're a little bit more different, because
they're liberal.
Just different.
Alaska has that very corrupt voting system that nobody understands, and you're not the ranked voting system. And, it's impossible to overcome that. The ranked voting system is insanity. Murkowski came up with that, and she came up with it so she stays in office forever.
Yeah, but that's going to get hopefully soon. I heard that they're going to put that on the ballot. Hopefully they can get rid of it, please.
It's with the ranked voting. Once it's in, it's very, very difficult, and and it's confusing. No one understands how it works, and that's how they like it. They want you to be confused.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's this one thing I was going to mention to you about, like everybody's bitching and moaning about the midterms and all that stuff, how all Democrats are like, up by 5 in the real court politics, which, number one, there's some outlier polls and bad polling on there, number one. And two, I think it's a lot closer because I think it means we get, it's actually around 3 to 4 points, in my opinion. That's where it's actually at, because I think that means Republicans hold the House, but how much they're going to gain.
Well, no, we're gonna gain in the House, and we'll probably gain in the Senate too, or at least we'll maintain what we have. But the senators coming in, the new ones will be MAGA, as opposed to rhinos.
Absolutely, and then that's the reason why I believe in the midterms. Why I think it's because I think Democrats are being overly cocky. I think, in my belief, and you hear from the national media, which I call them like liberal media, I call them, is because they're being a lower, like overconfident about thinking that they're actually going to win by more than they think. They think it's like a blue wave, which not true. And we're not seeing it from the data or even the numbers because it's a lot closer. And then
I think it's not close. I think we are very much ahead. I think the Democrats are so far behind. And, and another thing that's not being factored in is we've done all this redistricting around the country. So a lot of the Democrat seats no longer exist, including those racially segregated black districts. So there's
absolutely in the South.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these seats that were safe Democrat seats that don't even exist anymore. The redistricting. No, but we still have to have a massive turnout and swamp them at the polls. We can't get cocky.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I think it's all about, like, I said this, like, I was on one stream about it was a little more a liberal podcast, and I said, you can't rely on the high propensity voters. You have to have low propensity voters to actually win. That gives you actually a majority.
Well, the thing with the Democrats is, if you look at the Democrats, they have no party platform. They have no issues. Hating Trump is not an issue, okay? That's not an issue. And they have no candidates. They don't have any, they don't have any leadership. Who's the leader of the Democrat Party? They have none.
I can't think of one. I can't think of one.
Yeah, and their high-profile people are very questionable. Mamdani, AOC, they don't have issues. They don't have a platform, and even what's his name? Dollar Store Obama, Timu Obama, Hakeem Jeffries was on one of the Sunday shows last weekend. And he said that they're going to come up with a platform soon. They don't even have a platform. They don't. The Democrats don't have a reason to say, vote for us, we're going to do this. Impeaching Trump is not a platform.
Yeah, I just think they're just being so stuck onto a little bit more, like TDSD. I think
Trump derangement syndrome?
Trump derangement. Yeah. And part of it is, like, even like what I'm seeing in these midterms, I'm seeing from these primaries is Democrats are picking bad candidates in the House, and even in the Senate. That's why, like you're saying, we're actually more ahead because Democrats are picking bad candidates. They're like the Bernie Bros or DSA
or a Muslim guy, Ahmed, in Michigan. And they got this, and they've got this one girl running in Colorado who says that the United States brought 9/11 upon itself. The people they have Hassan Piker running around. They're detestable, un-American people that are supporting un-American things. Saying that we brought 9/11 on ourselves is like saying we brought Pearl Harbor on ourselves, and the liberals would probably argue that we did, but that's how the liberals are.
Yeah, those like the whole Pearl Harbor thing that was on Japan, and their own country did that crap. And then the terrorist group, which was Bin Laden, obviously. Al-Qaeda, which a terrorist cell group, obviously still exists. But they did that. That was their own choice.
Well, listen, I gotta run, but I appreciate the call. You call me again another day. All right, you take care. I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas and annuities. I was talking this morning about. And you've heard this commercial recorded on the show. One of our listeners that became a client of Joe Thomas, he retired. He's a retired police officer, and I met this guy. He looks like Serpico. You look at this guy, and you can tell he's like the undercover cop that is out there doing the big bust. He still looks like an undercover cop, even though he's been retired maybe longer than he was a police officer, and he had a very good pension from the police department. Plus, he's got Social Security. Well, what's happening now is people are living longer than ever, and he has lived beyond the life expectancy of his pension. So, what was a great pension when he retired, like in 98, 99, 2000, just 26, 28 years later, ain't cutting it. So, he met with Jupiter Joe Thomas. And now he's in annuities. And every single month, he has another check deposited directly into his bank account, like his pension, like his Social Security. And he has no money problems anymore. This guy, he's living the life of Riley. Give Joe Thomas a call. And the consultation's free. You can take advantage of the no-charge consultation no matter where you're located, all right? If you're local in the South Florida area and the Treasure Coast area, go see him in person at his office in Jupiter. But you can also take advantage of the no-charge consultation over the phone, on a Zoom call, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation and your goals. And I want to tell you this. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you don't have enough money to get invested in annuities. When you call Joe Thomas, tell him your situation, and he'll tell you what opportunities are available to you. All right? His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And you can also find his number online at jupiterjoe.com. And Joe, he gave me a couple of these incredible Jupiter Joe Stanley cups, which I like because it's got me back to drinking water again, so I'm hydrated. I'm drinking a little too much water. I just spilled it all over my shirt, but it's very good. Anyway, give Joe Thomas a call again online, jupiterjoe.com. Yeah, so we were talking about the Democrats. This is a Democrat who's running for. Listen to this guy. This guy, he's running. Wow. He's running as a Democrat. He's running for Congress, and he's talking about Hassan Piker.
Wow, let me get into the controversy here. I love Hassan Piker.
Okay, now the guy that's running is the guy on the right with the beard.
Boosted you during your campaign.
Yeah.
Adversely, he had, made this statement. I understood where he's coming from. I like him, and I understood the sentiment.
All right, let me rewind it because I talked over the key line.
Wow, let me get into the controversy here. I love Hassan Piker. He boosted you during your campaign.
Yeah.
Adversely, he had, made this statement. I understood where he's coming from. I like him, and I understood the sentiment. What he was saying is America deserved 9/11. People blow it out of proportion. The irony, of course, is you were on the front lines of 9/11. Did you ever say to him, like, bro, I understood what you say. Did you ever say to him, like, I understood what you're saying, but, like, can you, like, figure out a different way to articulate that? Like,
well, I'm sure he's heard it from a lot of people. It didn't come up in the conversation. And he's got to talk for 8 hours. If I had to ramble for 8 hours, I don't know what would come out of my mouth. Okay?
Well, I certainly, I talk for many hours a day too, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. I would never say that, we deserve 9/11. And, part of the problem that the Democrats have is they've been taken over by Islamists who hate the country, and you hear it out of their own mouth quite regularly. We deserve 9/11, and when you have multiple candidates and representatives in the Democrat Party that are saying that the United States deserved 9/11, we brought 9/11 on ourselves. And you're running Muslim candidates all over the place, on top of the fact that you're running communists. They're communist and Islamist, anti-American, blaming us for 9/11, not Al-Qaeda and the Islamic terrorists. That's why they mortgage their building and are broke, right? What they're doing and the things they're saying are not popular. It's like they got like an anti-agenda going on. Here's another new update from CNN, some polling data.
Document proving citizenship to vote.
Requiring documentation to prove citizenship to vote. That's the poll.
Document proving citizenship to vote. What you can see here is, again, it's clear the majority are for it. The majority are with President Trump here. We're talking about 54% of Americans. We've seen this in poll after poll after poll. It is lower than the voter ID, but it is clear. You get that 54% who support it. You get 37% opposed, which is a sizable minority, but definitely lower than the majority. And then among independents, which is a group that President Trump has really struggled with, you still see it here, right? You see the majority of it, or the plurality of independents, 49% supporting the idea of needing document proving citizenship to vote. 49% versus 38% who are opposed. So whether it's overall or independents, yes, the support is lower than it is for voter ID, but it is very clear that the majority of people are in fact for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is proof of citizenship to vote, right? And here in Florida, our driver's licenses actually have an indication whether or not you're a citizen. So you can look at it. You can look at a driver's license here, and you can see if somebody's a citizen or not, and that's certainly something we need. But you see these issues The vast majority, even independents, the vast majority of the people in this country support photo ID to vote and also proof of citizenship to vote. This is astounding. Trump's policies are so popular. It's really amazing. In the second term of Trump, I've been on the Trump train before he came down the escalator. Back in 2011, he was teasing with the idea of running, and I was on the air then talking about run, Donald Trump, run. So I've been on the Trump train a long time, and I know a lot of you have too. I'm not alone with that. But his issues have gone totally mainstream across all party lines, even reaching independents for the very first time. It's been a major change in his second term, hasn't it? But these leftists are out of their minds. This is Angie Craig. She's a congresswoman from Minnesota, and she's doing an interview on Minnesota Public Radio, and she's talking about President Trump. This is why the Democrats are in trouble.
When I looked at the bill at the time, we had just allowed Donald Trump, who is an existential threat to this country, to come in.
First off, he's an existential threat. What is she talking about? What is threatening about Donald Trump? And then she says we let him come in to this second term. I thought the American people elected him, and that's how things worked in the United States. But apparently, this Democrat congresswoman from Minnesota thinks that they just decide who becomes the president, not the American people.
When I looked at the bill at the time, we had just allowed Donald Trump, who is an existential threat to this country, to come in part because voters' perception of America's open borders under the previous administration. As this Trump administration attacked our black and brown neighbors.
What black and brown neighbors have been attacked by the Trump administration?
It became absolutely clear that although they weren't using that bill in Operation Metro Surge, that
she's talking about the Somali pirates of Minneapolis with the Leering centers getting arrested for financial fraud. I see.
Any additional authority to the Trump administration was the wrong decision, and I've said that I regret it.
Oh my goodness! I tell you, white liberals are the worst, aren't they? I mean, they are just it's insane to me. The way that people on the left think and how they view things. Now, if you're new to my program, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I am live every weekday morning and weekend mornings as well, and most afternoons during the week. But I'm live every morning, 7 days a week, Monday to Monday, not Monday through Friday, Monday to Monday. And if I'm in the studio, I'm always taking live calls like you've been hearing me do today. And I'm here most afternoons as well. So make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell. I want to take a moment to talk about Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Here in Florida, it is hurricane season. I love hurricane season because it rains every afternoon, and it's nice because it's like 100 degrees, and then it rains in the afternoon, and it cools off, which is really super nice. I like it. But, when it comes to roof replacement or repair, Tom Laporta is your guy. He's a good MAGA guy. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. That's right. From the Atlantic coast all the way across to the Gulf of America coast and everywhere in between. He works with every type of roofing material, on every type of structure too, residential, commercial, municipal. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's one hall, one office building, one municipal building, or an HOA that has 500 units. He can handle it. He's also a general contractor, not just a roofer, which under Florida law allows Tom Laporta to deal directly with your insurance company on the cost of the repair or replacement of your roof. And remember, he will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, Tom Laporta will do it. So give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. Again, that rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, so you can call or text 954-604-4602 and online, laportaroofing.com. All right, now, did you notice that Netanyahu was at Lindsey Graham's funeral? He was sitting right behind John Ratcliffe, who's the director of the CIA, at Lindsey Graham's funeral today. And there was some reporting early this morning, before I went on the air on the morning show, that Netanyahu was bringing some intelligence information personally to deliver to Trump. I guess he wanted to hand it to him. But, you know, we had about, 13 nights of nonstop bombing every night of Iran. And they're definitely on the ropes. And my guess is they slowed it down because Netanyahu's coming to town, and President Trump and Netanyahu and others, they're talking about what the next stage with Iran is. So I'm expecting that to fire up again real soon, especially after this news story that the Iranians were threatening the lives of Melania and Barron. There's been, you know, they've been plotting, planning, and threatening assassinations of the president and his entire family quite a bit lately. They've threatened Barron, Melania, Ivanka, the president himself even. You know, so he's got to wipe him out and obliterate him, and I would imagine that'll be kicking up soon as all of this settles. No question about it. Now, listen, guys, if you're new to the program, again, make sure you subscribe, and if everyone could like the video, I'd really appreciate it. When you like the video, you get the video recommended to people that have not yet found my channel, and that helps grow the channel. So please, before you go, like the video. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I will see you first thing tomorrow morning. Till then, take care.